Good morning.
Good morning.
Oh my gosh, the European Cup started this weekend. It was very exciting. All soccer, all the time. All football, all the time. Just depending on which side of the ocean you're on, it's important. We saw some good games yesterday, Dr. Mary.
Well, you did.
A lot of football. A lot. But all good. Very exciting. 51 days, 51 games of football we'll be watching between now and, I don't know, 3 more weeks.
Yes.
It's on in the background right now. You can't hear it, but Scotland's just trucking it out with Czech Republic.
Czech Republic.
Oh my gosh, I just showed my age there. Sorry, the Czech Republic.
Yes, Czechoslovakia. Bet you never learned how to spell that one, did you?
Not very well.
No.
All right, so it's
Failed
Daily
at that one
Dose.
miserably.
It's Monday. Dr. Mary is on summer vacation and has just taken this gentle recommendation from me to manage content so well, Dr. Mary. I just love it. I just show up, you've made my tea. Here's what I am now contributing to Daily Dose. I type in the little header on the live stream.
Oh, no, you do a lot more than that.
And then I don't really do much until Friday. So take it away, Dr. Mary.
So this is an article by Kelly Tompkins. And I thought it was interesting, mostly because of what happened to us on Friday, and I'll come back to that in a second. Nothing bad happened, by the way. It was just, anyway, it's called How We Can Stay Sober Once Things Are Back to Normal Again. So, she basically had 4 points to consider about if you are sober, even if you've been sober for a few years, because of the pandemic, and if you're newly sober, there are she's giving us 4 points to consider. So I thought we'd address them. And the reason I found this article interesting is because on Friday we got invited to is the term soft opening?
It is. We're not going to name the restaurant, but
We got invited to a soft opening of a restaurant, which was quite nice. But Dana actually took the lead and asked if they sold non-alcoholic beverages and what you could drink that didn't have anything alcohol in it when we got there. And the initial response was, I don't think we have anything.
Well, she said we have lemonade and,
Yeah.
and Pepsi products,
But
or whatever it was.
they could make a cocktail without any alcohol in it. But they did actually have a fine selection of non-alcoholic beverages. It's just that it's a new restaurant, so I don't think everyone was up to speed. But it got me thinking about that, and then I found this article. So the second thing I'm going to talk about is exactly what that was. But the first one, and this is actually for people if you've been sober for quite some time, but you're going back into the world. We've been vaccinated. She had a little bit of backstory. And if you haven't been out in public for a while, it can be tough. Especially if your addiction was brought on by social anxiety, which is what this article is mostly about. So, the first one is to actually have a conversation with those close to you about your sobriety. The worst thing you can do, especially if you've started, you're new to sobriety, is if you're hanging out with your friends, just to be normal, that impression just to fit in, to say, oh, I have one drink and then I can stop again. That could be a total disaster.
It's quite likely to be a total disaster based on the conversations we've had.
Be upfront with people, be on the same page. I know it's tough, and I was lucky. I didn't have to, when I got out of Prairie St. John, all of our friends just went, oh, wow. After they got over the initial shock, they just all banded around and everything was, Mans doesn't drink, great, let's just...
You also didn't have a series of friendships that were founded in being drunk.
This is true. So if you have a friendship that's founded in being drunk, it's incredibly important to say, look, I don't drink anymore. The author actually equated it to stopping smoking. It's actually more acceptable to stop smoking in this country
100% it
than it
is.
is to stop drinking.
But that's because we're super judgy of smokers, and we're only judgy of people who look like alcoholics. We're not judgy of actual alcoholics, but people who sort of have that homeless look about them. That's who we judge. Otherwise, we lift it up and celebrate it.
Yeah. So that was an interesting one. Now the second one on the reason for the backstory. What's the matter?
Nothing. I'm just sitting here.
Look up restaurants. look up the menu of the restaurant before you go to the restaurant. Especially check out the drink options. This was a great piece of advice. Also, and I didn't think about this at all, and it never dawned on me to even consider this, check out the vibe of the restaurant. If you're worried about going to a restaurant new and you're newly sober and you're going out with some friends for the first time in a long time, suggest a restaurant that doesn't have a bar. A sushi restaurant would be a perfectly good example.
Well, they have little bars. I mean,
But it's not it's not like a bar and grill, you know.
Right.
Even steakhouses. I mean, we used to go to what was that thing they used to do when we used to go to that restaurant?
Dr. Mary, that is way too vague for me.
Lone Star, when it existed. They used to have the two-step. As soon as you sit down, there was actually 2 beers in a bucket of ice, and if you wanted one, they'd open it for you. And if you didn't want one, they'd take it away. But if you only wanted one, they'd leave the second one, so it's staring you in the face all the way through the meal. So, be careful of that. Pick up the vibe on the restaurant.
Good morning, Anna and Rebecca.
If you're okay with going to a bar, find out if they sell non-alcoholic drinks and something that you might like. Speaking about soccer, we went to a plant conference.
Keep going.
In Montreal in 2018, and we watched the men's World Cup final in this lovely bar in Montreal because it was France, Croatia, and I had some nibbles.
You had about 14 pina coladas.
And I had
virgin.
I had 4 virgin pina coladas and a plate of chips.
It was more than 4. It was a lot.
It was just a fantastic time because
it was fun.
You know, I was watching a World Cup final in great little French style restaurant in Montreal, and
sitting by the water.
It was great.
It was great, and what was really great about it, just to further this, was 4 years earlier, we could have been at that conference. Maz would have had a lot of alcohol because it was highly celebratory. I mean, I might have had 3 glasses of wine while we were there. But you would have had a lot of alcohol, which would have continued on, and it would have been what was the start of kind of a crummy day. And instead, not only did you say to me, do you think I'd like pina coladas? And I said, I think you would. And you ordered one, and you said to me, yes, I like these quite a bit. But the staff was so great about them not being alcoholic. They didn't care at all. And that is, I think, the point. Can I go back to Friday night?
Yeah.
If you're watching this and you have access to restaurant staff, train your staff to know that you have non-alcoholic beer, or that these 3 drinks make really great non-alcoholic mixed drinks. Give people the opportunity to feel like they are adults who are welcome there. So our server wasn't rude at all, but she just had no idea. And when you say to me, well, all of our drinks can be made non-alcoholic. Well, really? That's not true. Like, can you make me a non-alcoholic martini? Of course you can't. So train your bar staff to really have 3 or 4 options at the top of their head. And then the other thing is put that on your drink menu. We could have looked up the drink menu for this restaurant. Nothing was listed. Not even lemonade and soft drinks, which they told us they had. There was nothing listed that was non-alcoholic. Well, I got to tell you, Maz took it really well. It set me off.
It really did.
It really did, because I feel like, don't you, A, want to appeal to a broad audience? B, don't you want to encourage people to be responsible with alcohol, even if they're drinking it? And C, come on. It's 2021. If Ireland can figure out how to serve an enormous amount of non-alcoholic beverages, then so can Fargo, North Dakota. Don't even get me started on how meat heavy this menu was. That's a whole different topic. I believe that's a different live stream show we'll probably never do. That's like a 2-topic show.
It was an absolutely fantastic restaurant, but I'm not a vegetarian.
Anyway.
My meal was fantastic. Anyway, so that's...
His meal was a lot of formerly known as cow.
Anyway, the next one. And this was the most important one, I think. Take your time to be social again.
That's true for all of us.
Yeah. That's exactly the point. Obviously, if you're uncomfortable with alcohol around you, go places. This kind of bleeds into the second one. Go places where there's not going to be large amounts of alcohol. When I was getting my hair cut last week, Sonia asked me, woman who cuts my hair, she said, "Have you been to Ribfest yet?" And I just thought,
Did you say, "Do you know who I'm married to?"
I just thought, one, my wife's a vegetarian, so I haven't seen a Ribfest in about 20 years, which it's fine with me. The advantages of being married to a vegetarian such as Dana Del Valle far outweigh walking around like a caveman chewing on some meat. But we went to Ribfest years and years ago,
Oh
and
my
the
gosh.
only beer size, I asked for a small beer. The smallest beer was a 32-ounce beer.
It was crazy town. It
So-
was like something that they would have delivered to Fred Flintstone with his Brontosaurus burger.
So, don't go to places with a lot of alcohol, and that's perfect. Who the hell's going to... On a hot day, no one should ever drink. Yeah,
Well, I would think it's fair to
32
argue
ounces
no
of
one should
beer.
drink 32 ounces of beer, hot, cold,
And that's
inside,
just
outside.
one beer.
Yeah.
Avoid large crowds. A lot of people become alcoholics because the first step for them. Everyone I've talked to, their first step is, I was always uncomfortable in crowds. Avoid them. I actually kind of
Yeah, you did.
avoid crowds, to be honest with you. The last part of this one about it really is it kept you stressing. Take everything at your pace. Don't be bullied into things by your friends. I actually have been listening to horrified conversations about people trying to be newly sober and their friends are going, go on, and they're actually forcing them to have a drink. Their significant others are doing the same to them if they're really unlucky.
Yeah.
The last piece of advice for this, and this is another thing that could go out to anyone, is speak with a mental health professional before. You can. There are places around here. Shh, pup. There are places around here where you can just make an appointment. You don't have to be along. You can just go and have a chat and talk to someone. Just bring these up. They'll give you some great advice, and that will help you going. You can get advice on how to approach relationships, eating out, everything else to do with sobriety. And that will give you, it'll be an hour out of your day. It might not be free, but, it might be $70 or $80 well spent.
But you also could get that from an AA meeting.
Or you could go to an AA meeting and get maybe the same, you'd get the same advice for absolutely nothing.
Yeah. And be in the company of other people
Yes.
who have the same fears and who are working through it. The reality is that we all do better when we all do better. Regardless what your problem is, if as a society, as a culture, we are mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally healthier, we'll all do better. So figure out if these are not your struggles, figure out how you can share them with someone for whom these are their struggles.
Yeah, you could pass on these 4 points to someone.
Yeah, none of those things are problems for me. But guess what? And I'm not equating vegetarianism with alcoholism. But the same othering happens. When you say to me, oh yeah, we have a salad and we can hold the bacon and the chicken. When that's my option, you've told me I don't belong there and that you haven't considered
This is
what
true.
might work for me. When you say to someone, oh yeah, we don't have anything, we have lemonade. You're saying to them, we haven't thought about you. So you can't cover every single base. Well, what if I have celiac, but I also don't eat pork, but I do eat grass-fed, you can't cover everything. But there are some big buckets that absolutely can be
That's a very good point.
considered. I often get credit and have for the entire time I've worked at the Arts Partnership for at the very least always having like Welch's sparkling grape juice at events. And I'll be honest with you, the whole reason I started doing it was because when my mom lived here, she used to come to a lot of my events. And because she doesn't drink, I wanted to make sure she had something to drink. And then some people started having kids there, and then it made sense. But it never dawned on me before Maz got sober that also was one small, thoughtful gesture to make to anybody who chooses not to drink that night or full stop. And now we are much more responsive to it. I make sure we have vegan food, vegetarian food, non-alcoholic
You're
something.
doing a good job with that stuff.
And there are definitely things that I'm sure we miss. But on the whole, taking a little bit of care and intentionality, and we've talked about this a lot, for the people who are going to be your patrons or your guests or are in your circle goes a really long way. So, thanks for taking the lead on this, Dr. Mary.
You're welcome.
Thanks for being so pleasant at the restaurant. I was angry enough for both of us. And then I felt kind of bad. I mean, I didn't say anything, but you don't have to spend more than about a millisecond with me to realize, oh, she's angry. Then the bartender came out and he said, no, we do have these two kinds of beer. So, I guess now that server knows. So
Yeah,
you're welcome, server.
Yeah, and you made a good point. You've made a very good point about the restaurant thing. I mean, the best example I can think of how bad this can get is because Quinn went to school in Rapid City. Once we thought we'd have lunch actually in the museum section of
Mount Rushmore.
Mount Rushmore. So Dana trotted off to look at the menu on the door. I mean, there wasn't even a vegetable option. It was basically various types of meat.
Yeah, I like to say it was meat with a side of meat on a bed of meat covered in a meat sauce
I probably
with a meat accompaniment.
I probably would have loved it, but
He would have. I had to pass. It was an unbelievable amount of meat. Wow. No way to get that taken off. They would have just brought me a plate. So, all right. Time to be done. We're a little bit long.
Oh my gosh.
Have an excellent
Have a great
Monday.
day. We'll see you
Turn
tomorrow.
in and watch some European football. If you're one of those people who thinks, if they just scored more, it would be more fun. It's not about that. It's about the art of the game.
yes.
Says the woman who kind of gets it and doesn't entirely. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Bye.